Good evening, everyone, and welcome. My name is Dwayne Kimball, owner and founder of KMD 89 VA Claims Consulting, and I am joined by another than other than I don't know, I already screwed that up. None other than David Petak of VA
What's going
Housing
on, guys?
Education.
Oh yeah, happy
So
to be here.
yeah, so we gotta I gotta put my glass. I've been wearing my glasses the whole time I was in Mexico last week. So we have a few people already chimed in. Put a one in the chat. Let us know you can hear us loud and clear, and also let us know where you're logging in from. If you don't mind, definitely appreciate that. So, Dave, thanks again, man, for jumping on tonight. I just like I said, we were talking earlier. Just got off vacation. I was like, man, I was like, okay, the day wasn't as bad as I thought it would be with emails, but it is what it is. So tonight we're going to be talking about it's time to use your VA home loan. I know, Dave, since we've done this is what our third time on here, I
Yeah.
think, third time, and a lot of people leave a lot of comments, and they're like, "How do I get a hold of Dave? How do I?" And I'm like, "We put the information in the chat." So Dave will be listing his contact for his calendar throughout tonight. Make sure you sign up and speak with him. Anything related VA mortgages, he's your person. I'm not the person. Okay. You don't want me giving you information on VA home loans. I can give you some information, maybe the current interest rate, and that's about it. Okay. So we're going to get to, man, I got to put my glasses back on again. That is crazy. Okay. So before we get in,
I know the feeling.
yeah, I know, right? Before we get into some of the Q&A, Dave, is there anything that maybe that you like to share that came out about VA home loans since we did this last that you think that's kind of pressing and people need to know?
Yes, there's definitely some big changes for the veteran community that are actually going to be negative starting the 1st of November. So I don't know if you've heard of it, or you or anybody else that's out there. There's a lawsuit that's pending called Maher versus the NRA and like the 5 biggest real estate associations in the country. Have you heard of it?
No,
No?
not at
Okay.
all. No.
So basically what happens is that, for folks that have bought homes before, or like Dwayne yourself, you bought a home, you use an agent. That agent, your buyer's agent, gets paid by the sellers, right? So you didn't pay your agent to use their services, right?
No.
Yeah, right. So the new lawsuit is basically saying that sellers don't have to offer a co-op to the buyer's agent. So now people, as of, and this is like the lawsuit hasn't been finalized, but all NAR, the National Association of Realtors, a lot of the MLS systems that house the properties that people can look at are not going to require anymore that agents have to give a commission to split with a buyer's agent. So now buyers have to pay a realtor to use their services, right? So let's say everybody's okay with that, which majority of people in the United States are not going to be okay with that. For veterans, the VA specifically says if you use your VA home loan, you cannot be charged a penny from the from the buyer's agent to use their services. So it kind of creates this weird, like, I don't know how it's going to go down because there's a lot of chatter in the real estate industry, but Dwayne, if somebody's trying to buy a $300,000 property, but they're getting charged $9,000 just in fees to use a realtor, let's say, and then let's say someone is willing to pay that, a veteran legally cannot pay for that. So there's just I think there's some commotion right now with how veterans are going to be able to be taken care of and what options they're going to have in the housing space. So I think it's a negative thing, but I think what's going to happen is I don't think that people are going to just say no to offering co-ops to buyer's agents, because it would slow down the industry even more than it is today, right? Because I think right now it's a great time to buy, especially for veterans, because you have no money down. The interest rates are lower than any other loan product that's out there. If you lock in the equity today, and then when rates drop later, you refinance. Remember, you're locking into equity today. You know, I did a whole video on because a lot of veterans are saying, well, I'm going to wait, right? I'm going to wait till next year when rates drop. Guess what happens when rates drop every single time? The values of properties go up. So even if you wait a year and rates drop to, let's say, 6.25, 6.5, and values go up 100,000, guess what? You still have a higher mortgage payment than you did if you bought today. And it's about, no matter, for every $100,000, you save about $650 by buying now versus waiting for rates to drop later. So it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Now, did you talk about this with one of your associates on LinkedIn last week? I think I heard.
Lawsuit.
Yeah, about the lawsuit.
Yeah, I mentioned it, but like, I haven't really, like, nobody in the veteran community even knows this is going down.
Okay. Now, so because now you got me interested on this.
Yeah.
So correct me if I'm wrong now. So you can, if you're selling a house, your agent gets 3%, and the buyer's agent gets 3%. Is that?
If that's what they negotiate, right? So it's a negotiated item. It's not like it's a set fee, but that's what they're trying to basically, through the Antitrust Act, they're trying to say, look, you know, you don't have to offer that listing, a buyer's agent, a co-op, because technically, I mean, in a way, you're inflating the price because you're giving an additional credit to the buyer's agent. So that's kind of what's going down.
Okay. Because I remember when I first moved to Florida and I purchased my house, it was this whole big thing about 3%.
Yeah.
Okay.
But now that's kind of going away. So think about it, as a buyer, you're buying a $500,000 place, you're being charged $15,000 in realtor fees, right? And so that's the challenge, right? A lot of folks, you know, VA loan is phenomenal because you don't have to put money down, right? No limit. You want to buy a $2 million place, you don't have to put a penny down as long as you get your full entitlement. Now, if you bought a $2 million place, you'd pay $60,000 in your example in commissions, plus closing costs, right? So think of the folks that are out there that I would say, from, you know, middle class to lower class, like, who has an additional 10, 15, 20,000 laying around just to be like, hey, here's some money. But that still hasn't got an effect right now. And like I said, I don't think it's going to be, I think it's going to take time for something like that to roll out, because it will hemorrhage the industry more than it is now. But if you think about it, a lot of people right now know how, I mean, everyone knows how to use the internet. It's like, the thing is, you can search for properties, you can find properties that you like and you want to look at. The challenge is that good realtors, like, we all know good and bad folks in the industry, right? Someone that's good walks you through their process, handles negotiations, and represents you for your best interest. Not because sometimes people are like, I love this house. We'll be like, it's in a horrible condition. You buy it, you're going to sink another 20 grand into it, and you don't have the money. You buy a home that's basically going to lose value, and you're going to have problems with it, right? That's what somebody that's good at what they do advises and helps a veteran, or just anybody looking to buy, helps them through that process. Now, you take that away, you know, it just leaves room for people to make mistakes, especially with like condos. Like, we deal a lot with that, where veterans are just happy that if a condo is VA approved, just because they want a condo or somewhere to buy. But any condo could be VA approved, by the way, with a waiver. It doesn't make a difference anymore. So folks out there thinking about buying a condo, you could literally pick any condo in the country and you can purchase it with your VA loan with a waiver. So I'll definitely ask you guys, if you're interested in something like that, please schedule a call with us. We're happy to walk you through that process, because, you know, for us, it's just about educating the community that we're a part of. And it's time for you to make that decision on what's right for you and not for us. You know what I'm saying? Because like that's the whole point of what we do is empower the community and make a decision on what's right for you and your family.
Right. Yeah, I think that's key. Like you said, Dave, you know, we got to educate each other. I talk a lot about VA compensation claims. And even though some of the questions are the same, what it lets me know that veterans like us out there, they just, and family members, they don't get it. You know, and I'm like, you got to understand it. You can be upset about it.
Right.
You got to understand it if you want to be successful. You know, there's no way around it. You got to network with the right people, and that's even in business.
Right.
So me as an entrepreneur, you know, if you're not networking with the correct people and getting good information, either you're getting bad information or no information. If you're not getting any information, you're a veteran entrepreneur, that could be bad. You know, bad information. You know. All right, so we're gonna go. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and jump into a couple of questions here. Let's see. This is a statement. Thrifted listed soul. Hi, Dwayne. Thank you for all you do. And KMD does. It definitely, it's my pleasure. And one thing I hadn't talked to you about, Dave, and this, I'm just put you out there on Front Street. Someone gave me the idea. Why don't you create your own TAPS class? And I was like, okay. So I created it for VA claims consultant. And I was like, man, I got to bring Dave in this somehow to, you know, make it like a maybe 3 days for an hour or something, talk about VA compensation, then VA home loans, and then I have another veteran entrepreneur, retired Air Force chief, talk about the mental component of transitioning from active duty, spending, you know, 20, 25 years on active duty, and now you're in the civilian sector. And a lot of people struggle with that. So it's definitely, I'll start with the VA compensation piece, and maybe after the first of the year, just come up with our own TAPS.
I'm in it. And that's the thing. Like, I mean, and think about it, Dwayne. Even so, he's been in for 6 years, got in at 18. They don't even have a clue of what's really happening on the outside, right? So, and then we run into a lot of people that, and remember, like TAPS is for life, so you can go back at any time. But this is great for veterans that even if you've been out for 10 years, because guess what? Benefits change. And it's how do you stay on top of the information to figure out, again, kind of what's the best option for you, right? You need a place to live and you need income, right? Those are two things you need. So.
Yeah. So here's our first question. Currently living in my home that was purchased through a VA loan. Can I turn it into a rental?
Yes. I'll give you a longer answer. Yes, you can. That's great. All right. So when you purchase a VA home loan, right? Purchase a property with a VA loan, it's intended to be your primary residence, right? The only time there's an exception to that is if you're on active duty and your spouse or child will occupy that property, then you could do it without living in it, right? But in this situation where you own a property with a VA loan, so let's say you got that 2.25% interest rate a couple years ago, you can turn it into an investment property without doing anything to the property. You don't have to refinance it. The only thing that you do have to do, well, there's a couple things. Nothing's ever easy, right? So the couple things, right? You have to update your insurance, and you have to update if you have a homestead exemption on the properties. Meaning, like let's say some properties, if it's a primary residence, you get a discount on taxes. Same thing if you have a VA disability that meets the county, state, cities, whatever requirement, and you don't pay property taxes. Remember, when you move out of the property gets reassessed, right? So that's kind of a big deal. The other thing that happens is if you have multiple VA home loans, now you have a cap on how much you can borrow without a down payment requirement to use the VA loan again, right? So when you don't have a VA loan, there's no cap. If you eligible and qualified, right? Eligibility is, do you meet the time in service and character of discharge? So active duty, it's honorable or general. And then if you're a National Guard or Reserve, it has to be honorable. And then did you serve, the minimum time requirement? If you got discharged 1 day in service medically, then you have your VA loan and you have your benefits. So kind of keep that in mind. Because I don't know if you run into it, Dwayne, but I have veterans that think they got medically discharged, but they just took a general discharge, or they took a general discharge because they didn't want to wait for all the paperwork to be filed. And then they got that. And I've just been into so many people that have had that. I think it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I just did a YouTube video. I think it was last week. We posted it where I talked about how show people how to go to the VA's website and you could do a military discharge upgrade.
oh wow.
You answer you answer certain questions, and then at the end they'll tell you this is the form, this is where you need to send it, and et cetera, et cetera. So the VA's been doing a good job on their website,
Yeah.
but it's still like a black hole. I think somebody either sent me the link or I was doing some research and I just found it, because they're not telling people about that information. But you did bring up a point because I went through that where I had my VA home loan and I purchased built a home. And in Florida, it's called porting. You port your exemption to the new home. They call it porting, where you take it from the old home to the new home. Here's the crazy thing. It didn't take effect until the first of the following year, which was good for me. Well, it wasn't because I closed in April. So I had to wait. I had to pay taxes on the new home until January 1st of the following year.
But you didn't pay taxes on the other property in the meantime, right?
No.
Yeah.
No.
So when you mentioned something, and I want to address it, is that because there's some confusion actually nationally around what porting means. Okay. So the porting, because when you mentioned that, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Or you take your benefits from one property to the other, right? It's on a primary residence, but you can't port a VA home loan mortgage with your current interest rate onto a new property you purchase, because that's what a lot of people think porting is. So you just gotta keep that in mind with VA loans. And actually, I don't know what any loan products you can do that with, but there's a lot of talk about it, is that you can't take your current VA loan and put it on the new purchase of your property. But you can do a VA assumption, so you can still get 2.25% interest rates.
Okay. Oh, you get 2.25% interest rates on a VA home loan right now?
Well, yeah. Have you heard of VA assumption loans?
No.
Okay. So I'm sure we could spend. I probably could talk 80 hours, and there's so much stuff. So one of the things that there's veterans out there that have, let's say they sold their property or they have a TSP or 401k where they have money saved up, right? This applies in this situation primarily, but I'm going to give you a couple examples. All VA loans are assumable. So Dwayne, you're a veteran, and let's say your property is worth $500,000 and your current mortgage balance is $450,000, right? And you have a 2.25% interest rate. I come in to look at your home and say, you know what, then I want to assume your first mortgage and give you a check for the difference of the $450,000 and $500,000. So I could put my benefits onto your VA loan at 2.25%. You free up your benefits to use the VA loan again, and then I just give you a check for $50,000. And now I have a 2.25% interest rate, $450,000 mortgage. Now, this all applies to 3 types of mortgages, actually. FHA loans, USDA loans, and VA loans. So I could get pretty deep on it, but it's kind of cool because convention or FHA and USDA have to be purchased as a primary residence. If there's veterans out there that right now don't care if they tie their entitlement into a property, meaning that let's say you were like, you know what, I don't need my VA loan anymore. I'm just going to have David assume it. So I actually wouldn't need to use my benefits to assume your mortgage. I just lock your benefits into the property and I could buy it as an investment property. That's the crazy thing. So there's a lot of older veterans that are like, I don't need the VA loan anymore. I'm just going to let whoever take it and they could just lock my benefits into it. It's kind of crazy.
Wow. Yeah, that's something I didn't know. All right, let's move right along here. Johnny, what form is needed for SMC, and do you have to be rated 100%? What Johnny's asking is SMC stands for Special Monthly Compensation. And when I tell everybody, you have several out there. The 3 main ones is SMCK, SMCS, and SMCL. SMCK is mainly loss of use of a creative organ. That's where you normally see that. SMCS is housebound, and then SMCL is aid in attendance. Okay. I had a conversation with a veteran today. All SMCs you have to be service connected for. There is one A&A, non-pension A&A. You don't see it that often. But Johnny, I would say go to the VA's website, look at the criteria for all of them. Okay, look at it for all of them because the criteria is different. And if you meet that criteria, do you have evidence? If you have the evidence, then that's going to determine which form you would need. SMC housebound and aid in attendance. I think that's on a VA Form 21-2680. Okay. But something like loss of use creative organ, you can just put that on regular 526 easy. Rosalind Roberts, hello. Thank you for all the great informative videos. I would like to know if you still have the online doctors for DBQs. I just got denied or postponed my CMP. Felt like I want to be prepared. Before I go any further, Dave, what is your YouTube handle? Because I know you have a YouTube channel with videos.
Yeah, VA Housing Education.
Okay, so everybody go to VA Housing Education. Make sure you subscribe. David and I were both on LinkedIn. I was in Mexico and I was flipping through my phone waiting on my wife to get ready. And he was on LinkedIn. So I had spotty service, so I was only in like 2 or 3 minutes, but I was in there long enough to leave a comment. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
So definitely connect. If you're not subscribed to my channel or his channel, subscribe because we have these videos. We got us live now, but we have these videos where you can go back and reference. Okay. So definitely, Rosalind, thank you. What I've done, I no longer offer one-on-one consultations. I offer live webinars where I'm going live, similar like tonight, and I'm talking about the educational services that I provide. You can ask me questions about those services, but those are only questions I take during that time. Go to my website, www.kmd89.com, sign up. We have 3 upcoming, I think one this week. We're doing BDD claims training for active duty service members and military spouses. And we're going to be doing that every month. Dave and I are going to be going live like tonight every month. We're also going to be doing like a lunch and learn where you can actually talk to us on Zoom every month. A lot of good information. And guess what? It's free. You just got to invest your time and show up. A lot of veterans don't like doing that. You got to invest the time. Okay. So, Rosalind, definitely go to the website. I guess I should have answered your question. When you opt into educational packet, you get access to medical professionals that can do DBQs and nexus statements. Watch my videos on that because a lot of VA employees are refusing to use those DBQs and nexus statements when veterans have followed the VA guidelines and had them to complete it that way. And they're just flat out refusing to use it. So there could be additional conversation around that, Rosalind. So, definitely sign up. We can have another conversation about that. Okay, we got someone in, Selena Williams from Huntsville. I think she was in one of my trainings last week. I recognize that name, if I'm not mistaken. Lehigh Valley, PA. How far are you from Pennsylvania, Dave? Is it
well, I'm in right now. I'm in Arlington, but I'll be back in Chicago next week.
Yeah, just in time for the snow, right?
Oh man, it's I remember that I came off a deployment in end of 21, so my kid was born in 22. Dude, it would not stop snowing. Like I came, like it was negative 20, 30. I'm like, I don't want to go back, but I have to.
All right. So we got somebody from Southern California. There you go. Hannah Washington from Illinois. There it is. Okay. Logging in from Mexico, Miguel. Can they overturn my decision through an HLR, or will it always be a duty to assist and send back development. Pleading actionable and sufficient private evidence for rating. Okay. There's a lot there, Miguel, to unpack. First thing I would say, a lot of people think, oh, I got a high level review, duty to assist error. That means nothing. I've seen hundreds of claims have duty to assist errors and still get denied, because a duty to assist error could be, oh, that veteran service representative VSR forgot to go out and complete the development to get documentation from a private doctor. All along, that drawer is thinking that's the duty to assist error. Once we do that, we can go ahead and confirm and continue the denial. So a lot of people think, oh, duty to assist. That's not always a good thing. I just did a video. It went up today. VA employees leaving the VA because of production and quality quotas. I worked in that system. I saw it. I even have videos where I explained 2 years ago things that VA employees that left the VA are complaining, and it's on the VA's website. It was not on the VA's website. I think it was ABC or NBC. And they're talking about it now. But that's been going on for years. Okay. So, Miguel, you have to understand what you're doing with your claim, how the VA claims process can impact it. Do you have a legit high-level review / appeal? And even though you say your evidence is actionable and sufficient, based on what? We can say it's actionable and sufficient, but based on the VA's criteria or your criteria. Okay. And even so, if it is based on the VA's criteria, some VA employees are still refusing to use it. So then you got to know, what do I do when that happens? Talk about it in a couple of videos.
That's crazy, man.
Oh yeah, that's why I was telling you earlier, Dave.
Wow. That's insane. That's insane.
It is, and they know it. And one thing in the video that I talked about, when I work for Fortune 500 companies in the private sector, and you work in management, they identify training, even though they may say, okay, yeah, you're in the military, but you may be taking Six Sigma training. You may be taking some type of leadership course. And when I work for these companies, they always brought in private consulting firms that were like subject matter experts in this area. Because even though I was prior military, mid-level management, I could teach from a military standpoint, but that's not what they wanted. And a lot of managers in the VA, they don't have that. They just interview. Yeah, they just interview for, and even some of the ones that do have leadership experience, they're like retired sergeant majors, retired first sergeants, retired majors. Guess they had E5s working for them. Hey, I need you to go do this report. I need you to go do that report.
Right.
And now they got to do it. And they struggling because all those years, you know what I mean?
Trust me, you have to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so let's keep going. I live in Oklahoma, but I am scared to use it or make a purchase. I signed up to get quotes, but didn't realize the closing costs. As closing costs went up?
Well, no, I know exactly what Scott is talking about.
Okay.
And I read through some of the questions a little ahead of time, make sure we hit as many as we can. So this is what I'm going to explain. In life, if things are too good to be true, they are too good to be true. And veterans, and this is what Dwayne and everybody out there, I don't even know how to. It's so crazy to me that how veterans get taken advantage of by the companies that focus on the military. It's mind blowing. And so interest rates, right? If someone's giving you a better rate than, let's say, what like a normal rate would be, that means you're getting charged origination fees and discount points. In general, veterans pay the highest closing costs out of any loan product in the country because they work with the banks that market to them the most. And I'll tell you this, is that you don't have to be charged those fees and still get great rates. If you guys reach out to us, this is what we specialize in: VA home loans. We can connect you with realtors across the country. I'm licensed in all 50 states and the territories. So if you need a loan in Puerto Rico, the way you want to buy this property, let's make it happen. But you guys don't have to get charged those fees to be able to do something. When you think about buying a home, there's a couple things that go into people's minds, right? It's having a place that at least that the mortgage payment doesn't really go up, right? Taxes can go up, but if you got the service connection, you're pretty much set and your payment is set. For folks out there that have kids, it's tough. Like if you have to relocate because of a rental and you have to go to a new school district, that's horrible. It puts a lot of pressure on children to do that, right? If you're thinking about buying, it should be buying because you can afford it today, right? Rates, just like all the people that refinance into those 2.25% interest rates, guess what? They bought homes at 7% and 8% and 9% interest rates. So it's cyclical, right? Rates will go up, they have to drop because they slow the economy so much. And then you're going to refinance. But you lock in the equity today versus waiting later when rates do drop. And like I mentioned earlier, your payment's still going to be higher. So if you're comfortable with making a payment on a mortgage at today's rates, you need it because you're looking for stability as far as your housing piece, then it makes sense to purchase a property. Just make sure that when you're going into home ownership, you're prepared. And this is why getting a home inspection, even though the VA does not require it, it's still highly recommended that you get one. So you can foresee if there's going to be issues with the property, right? If you're buying a property and it needs a new roof within 2 years, do you want to drop $20,000? Do you have the money? And if you forego it, guess what happens? The roof's going to leak, and then now you have bigger damages, right? Wow. So there's just and remember, a lot of people have bought and sold homes, and they make good money doing that, right? And we don't foresee values dropping. Like a lot of people will say, well, the crash is coming. This isn't 2008, 2009 when you literally made up loans. Like you literally just put a name, a phone number, and you have a mortgage. Today, it's different because everything is verified. So when people do go into foreclosure, guess what happens? It's not like those properties are going at a discount like they used to. There's no inventory. We're hemorrhaged with people with low interest rates. Which, remember, like I mentioned, you can get those if you want with assumable mortgages. So if you're scared of getting into it, maybe going the assumption route, if you have cash saved up, is a way to do it.
Well, again, Dave just laid out some stuff that was like out of this stratosphere. And that's why you have to sign up to speak with him in a consult. Just like VA claims, people say, hey, I served with this person, I served with that person, they were my buddy, and we went through Afghanistan, and he's at 100% and I'm at 40. Why is that? Every claim is different. What you're saying, Dave, when I hear you saying, every loan product is different, and depending on maybe your finances, how long you work, all that stuff will determine what type of loan package that you should go with. Maybe VA home loan may not be the best, in a particular case, but you got to get that from a subject matter expert like yourself.
Right. And it's just that's how we met, because you do the VA disability stuff. I was watching your channel. I'm like, oh, you know what? And like you mentioned too, it's like you can, I can have 100 people ask me the same question, but based on their financial situation, you can have 100 different answers, right? Oh. So that's the tough part. And it's kind of like your department too, is like, if you don't review and look at all the evidence, how can you advise someone on something, right? Like what we talk about is from a general perspective of like, hey, this is the advantages, this is what you can do. But when you talk with us, that's where we're going to be going like, all right, based on your situation, this, and that, this is how you're going to be able to execute on what you want to do, good or bad. I will always let you know your left and right limits. Like, so you just know where to navigate. Like if you're thinking a year out from buying a home, guess what you should be doing today? Getting pre-approved today so someone could look at your credit, your finances, and say, hey, you're good to go for what you want to do. You can go ahead and do it. Wait, I can't tell you how many people don't want to get pre-approved. They look at properties. They've already stopped. Like, hey, they let their landlord know, I'm going to be moving. I'm buying a house. They find a house, then they apply, they get denied, and guess what happens? It's just a nightmare for them. So
Yeah.
preparing is important in life, and especially when it comes to your finances and home ownership.
And one thing that I did, and I walked into my wife and I, we at the time we were dating, we went to work, we were in a van pool, but she drove, and I was like, hey, I want to do this house thing. And she's like, you sure? And I already had a home, but we want to move and I want to build. And I walk into this realtor's office and we're talking about homes. And it's like everything was like, no, 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 no. And I'm like, I'm just asking some basic questions. I hadn't bought a house in a number of years, but my questions were more so location. What is going on in this subdivision? What is going on in that particular subdivision? And they were just all negative. And I walked away that day and I was like, okay, I know what my credit score is. I got to get it up. So then, like on a Friday, I got off work early, went to the bank, walked in there. I need to speak to the loan manager. She's busy with another customer and she has someone. I'll waited like an hour and a half. My question to her was, what home loan products do you have? VA home loan, conventional, FHA. We have everything but we do everything but VA. So for conventional or FHA, where does my credit score need to be to get the best interest rate? She said 740. So I knew, okay, I was close, but I wasn't there. So I asked her, I told her what I needed to do. And I was like, what can you, my bank, help me do to get this up over the next couple of years? And she said, well, we have this particular loan. I can't remember the name of it, but I took a loan on my own money, like $1,000, right? And she said, we will report it to Experian and we'll withdraw it. You can set up for like, I think it was like 24 months. Depending on the amount, would depend on the number of months you could set the loan up for, but it had to be a minimum of 12 months. So I said, fine. I did something like $1,000. And the interest rate was like 0.01% or something like
your
that.
Own money.
Yeah, yeah. So I was like, then I asked, I can't remember what I asked. I said, so I think I asked a realtor or mortgage broker or something about how long does I need to have that loan? They said at least 6 months. So what I did, paid on it for 6 months, 8 months later, paid it off. Guess what I turned around and did again? I did that 3 times. And one of my credit cards, I started using like a debit card, but I never let a balance go over. When I started doing that, my credit score went up. It took me, I think, about a year and a half, and it went up like 120 points. So when I went and got that loan, I didn't want there to be anything. And the mortgage broker was like, well, we need to get your credit score and see how much house you got. 827. He was like, what are you talking about? That's my credit score, 827. I got a credit reports right here. I know you got to pull them, but just to put you at ease, So when you say things that you got to do, you got to invest that time, like you said, find out what you need based on your particular situation. Invest, do it, all the time with VA claims. I'm like, they'll give me a scenario and I'm like, I can't give you any feedback based on what you're telling me. I need to see that information because as a former rater, I know exactly what to look for. You may not give me a piece of information and I respond and then you go and do something based on that and it doesn't work. Then you're going to say, Dwayne don't know what he's talking about. KMD 89, they're just idiots over there, And I'm like, no, I have to look at it,
Right. The same thing in finances. It's like, we got to take a look at it.
Okay. I think you said you already went through these a little bit ahead. Is there a big downside to using your, go ahead.
Yeah. So if you're building a deck, it depends on how much you want to borrow. Look, there's a lot of programs out there that have 0% credit cards for 24 months. They got personal loans you can get like at 1.99%. If you get basically a home equity line of credit to borrow against the equity in your property, the downside right now is the rates are between 10 and 14%. So if you're borrowing 10,000, I would say just get a personal loan and just pay it off in like as fast as possible. If you need, $100,000, man, at 14% or 10-14% interest rate, that's going to be a pretty steep interest only payment. Remember, interest only, so you're not even paying any equity back. It wouldn't make sense to refinance and do a cash out if your rate's really low, right? It just wouldn't make sense. So you just have to kind of, again, I think it's one of those situations where it depends on how much money you need. You need 20 grand, you got really good credit. It's easy to get 20 grand, right? If you let's say like under a 680 for a HELOC, it's your options get limited and the rates go even higher, like 16%.
And there's normally, because I was looking at one of those, and there's normally a penalty if you pay that loan off early, correct?
Not on these.
Okay.
There shouldn't be one. Yeah. So there shouldn't be a prepaid penalty. Those they got rid of completely for primary residences.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. So we got Dito girl here, and I was teasing her because she was in another event. And I'm like, I hope you call Dave to move forward with that property that you and your husband were looking for in Louisiana. I remember that from 2 months ago when she came on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I was just messing with her there. All right. Okay. So can you explain about credit and VA home loan second part? Because I'm really trying to get a home.
Yes. If we have like 3 hours, we can go through it all. All right. So I'm gonna kind of give you a big high overview. The VA does not have a minimum credit score, but lenders do because they need to assess risk, right? This is why the higher your credit, you have the best terms, because right now, credit is what gives you the best financing options available to you as far as getting the lowest interest rates with no fees. VA loans are a little bit different than conventional loans in the sense that it's really 680 or higher, you're getting the best interest rates on a VA loan, right? You're getting the best rates. Once you go underneath that, it significantly changes, right? If you go below a 620, the rates are going to be a 1 or 1.5% higher than what the going rate is. Plus, you're going to be paying discount points, right? And you have to meet certain parameters around your credit, like being on time with all your bills for the last 12 months, right? There's different ways that veterans can get approved, but it's just going to depend. Again, like we can help you and put a plan together. You just have to execute it, right? Time and money fix credit in the sense that if you stop paying all your bills today, 7 years from now, you will have perfect credit because all negative derogatory credit falls off after 7 years. 10 for bankruptcies and judgments. The problem is that people relapse when it comes to missing payments, right? If you get on an on-time payment schedule, you figure out what bills you have, and there's ways you can pay off your debt that makes sense, right? Highest credit, lowest balance. You can look at a different way. There's all different types of ways that you can do that, which I'm actually going to start rolling out some budgeting videos and credit videos. But if you go to VA Housing Education, I do one on a whole, like an hour-long video on just credit and budgeting that breaks down everything around credit. Because again, that's the number one thing, like you said, your story, Dwayne, it's right now, that's what the best thing is, to get the best credit. And don't get discouraged. Even if you have a 480, you can be at a 700. It just takes time. And it's life-changing, right? You want to be an entrepreneur. How are you going to fund? You need good credit. You want to buy a car and get 5% interest rate versus 20%. It's credit. You want to get a job. A lot of times they look at credit. Look at insurance. It's driven by credit. So if you could focus on anything in life around like your finances, it's really credit and just managing how much you spend.
Right. And, I was talking to someone, they weren't a vet, but they was, asking me about, if I had to go through that process again, working on, credit score, what would I do differently? And I said, one thing that I didn't think about, I had a TSP account. I could have borrowed against it. Had a 401k. I could have borrowed against that and said, I think it's the non-traditional where you could withdraw the money, you don't get penalized, and you don't have to count it as income. So I was like, if I take that, add up all my bills, and I take that, I wouldn't take it out and pay it off all at once. Depending on how long I've been paying on it, if I was current, I would use that 6-month rule that my loan officer at my bank told me, and then after that, pay everything off. But you got to be disciplined. You can't be going to the mall talking about you want the new Air Force Ones and LeBron James and the Kyrie Irving shoes and all that, and the new Hellcat, and you living in a studio apartment, you got $100,000 Hellcat sitting outside in the snow. I mean, in the snow, rain, sleet, or whatever. So you're definitely right. You got to be disciplined.
Yeah, and one thing that you mentioned, which just kind of like it sparked in me, is that when you have debt, right? You have a TSP account. That is actually you got to look. This is why you got to use an Excel sheet. You got to budget. You got to look at the numbers, because if you're spending $2,500 in credit card bills every month, but you could borrow against the TSP account and pay $400 a month, guess what? You pay off all your bills, and then you could pay your TSP back faster at a lower rate, right? It's all about the numbers. But if you are going to rack that debt back up, I can't help you, right? You gotta take control of that first.
Yeah, and even if you get a house, because my wife had a friend and they had closed on a house, and they're like, "Yeah, we're moving in and da 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 da, pre-qualified, and we go to closing tomorrow." So I'm like, "Yeah, hey, congratulations!" So we see him again. They never was able to move in.
What happened?
Because they ran their debt up.
Oh yeah, we've had that happen.
Yeah, they pulled another credit report and was like, "Whoa, that credit debt ratio," and they didn't close. So that's why it's important, I think, in my opinion, to talk to someone like you, Dave, that knows this process, that have seen the different scenarios. Same way with the VA claims process. People ask me all the time, "Well, Dwayne, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that?" And they'll say, "Oh, well, this other YouTube law firm, they said this, they said that." People ask me questions. I'm basing it off the VA regulations. That's all you can do.
Plus, you did this for a living.
And people don't get that.
I don't question you. When you say it, I'm like, that's how the lay of the land happens.
But people, they're in search for that yes answer.
Yeah.
They're in search for that yes answer. And I'm like, hey, look, I rated this claim. If it came across my desk, I would deny it. I'm just being honest. Now, the question that they don't ask me, well, Dwayne, if you're saying that you would deny it, the same scenario, what would make you approve it? They don't ask that question. They just hear that deny and, not anything else. All right. You already read that, I'm pretty sure, right?
Yes, you can. So you can buy a home that you're currently renting. We do that all the time for veterans. That's pretty easy. Typically, you're not going to use an agent. So we can walk you through all that. So reach out to us. We're happy to help. But yes, you can buy the place that you live in.
And everybody, I put David's contact information where you can schedule an appointment with him in the comment section, because people were like, "How do I get a hold of Dave? How do I get a hold of Dave?" I'm like, "You got to watch these videos. You got to, we'll probably only be on here like an hour." Right. That is a huge investment. Huge. Because I've heard so many mortgage brokers, "Oh, I know everything about VA home loan. I want to do this with you. I want to do that." And like Dave said earlier, we connected on LinkedIn. And out of all the mortgage brokers that connected with me and said, "Hey, I want to do basically what Dave and I are doing now," I didn't do it with any of them. I did one video, and I'm like, "Oh, man, it just it didn't sound right." But when I talked to Dave, he was like, I felt like I was back in college again, college algebra, trying to figure out binomials and polynomials and what all that other stuff. I don't
know what that means anymore.
Yeah, you were just making it. You were just simplifying. Yeah. All right. Hello, finally got COE. I'm pretty sure you know what that is.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Congrats on that. So basically, just service connection with no VA funding fee.
Okay. The
I
COE, what
there's
is the
so many
CO?
acronyms. Well, certificate of eligibility
Okay.
with service connection, so you don't get the VA funding fee. I can read military, so so the answer to the question is that, like, yeah, the hard part is you can't convince a seller to to purchase their property, probably because they have a great rate, they're cash flowing well, so they don't want to get rid of it. But you could definitely, in this option, I keep asking, but otherwise, you're gonna have to wait for a two-bedroom property to come on the market. In New York, it's a bit different because veterans can't buy in co-ops or condo towels or it's called like a condop. Can't buy them either. It has to be a regular condo. You use your vehicle to purchase any property.
Okay. Let's see here. To the next one.
Yes. You don't even have to rent it yet. You can already buy another one and then just the VA loans are great because at a departing residence, you can offset the mortgage payment without a lease. So you don't even need a lease. You could be living in it now and just buy a place. That's not an issue.
Here's the next one.
No. No.
I saw that when you were talking. I was like, I want an answer for this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna be polite, but they're one of the ones that charge the highest amount in fees. And it's a call center, so yeah.
So how do they? What is the hook? They tell you, oh, here's our fees, but you can roll them into the loan.
Wait, they don't. No, man, no.
Oh, okay.
Man, this is crazy. This is what great. They have really good marketing, and they have really great, funny actors in their marketing stuff, right? And I looked at their stuff and I went through it. Man, it's kind of just like a big marketing funnel, and then nobody knows what the fees are or anything until like they get their loan documents. And I'll talk to clients like a week before they close. They're working with someone else because their realtor's like, go talk with this guy because they're not answering their questions. So I just jump on a call with them and be like, there's no pressure on our end. You do what you want to do in life. We'll help you. So we walk through it. I look at their stuff. I'm like, yeah, they're charging you $10,000 in fees. And you're still not getting a great rate. And so like it's common practice. They just have it's like USAA, same thing. They charge a lot, but they just have the market at hand.
Okay. Here's one. Because I had a car note.
Yep. So they're probably referencing more towards like credit and your debt to income ratio. So one thing I'll touch on is the VA does not look at debt to income ratios unless you're on active duty or if you have bad credit, then they will implement some type of DTI. But typically they look at what's called residual income, which I think is both great and it can be bad because you can go up to 60%, 65, 70% debt to income ratios in a VA loan, right? So you really have to know your financial picture. You can be qualified for a lot more than you think, and stop buying expensive cars. A $700 a month mortgage payment takes away $100,000 in purchasing power. $700 car payment is $100,000 in a mortgage. So I'll let you know.
Wow.
And especially right now, you don't got good credit. Like that same car payment is going to be $1,000 because those rates are going to be 15 to 20% versus a 5% rate. So again, this is why credit's so important to understand.
Wow. Yes, Dito girl. Let me and Dave know how many thumbs up we got. Definitely appreciate that. Yes, invest your time. I was telling someone in a video I did. I called "Rip the Band-Aid Off." I just got upset with a couple of rating decisions that I looked at for veterans, and I'm like, I cannot believe that this is happening. And I can really tell people what I saw within the VA, but I don't want to lose. I don't want people to lose focus. Don't deal on that or concentrate on it because that's something that's out of your control. You can't control a VA employee not wanting to follow the VA's guidelines, but eventually your claim is going to land on somebody's desk that does follow it. And that video I just talked about, one of the things that you got to do, you got to invest your time. Everything that Dave that you're talking about tonight, credit debt ratio, how to figure out, get your credit score up to get a better interest rate, whatever. One thing that banker told me, I was like, what if I get over 800 credit score? I mean, not the credit score, but the interest rate is going to be the same as your 740. 740 is the ticket. At that particular time, that's where I needed to be. And I went out and got that information. I took off work an hour early, and people are like, oh, I'm not taking off work. You don't want it. You got to put some skin in the game. And that skin is investing your time and learning. Like, we got 7, 8 people here. Everybody's saying, hey, this is good information. Thank you. So definitely it's awesome.
Depends on the rate. I wish it was like one of those like question and then one answer. Depends on rate. So the reason why that is that if you have to pay 25 per pay period, how many pay periods are you paying that off, right? Because let me just pull up a calculator, right? So if at 4,000 divided by 25, basically 160 payments. Wait, 160 payments divided. You're going to be paying that 4,000 over 13 years.
Yeah.
No, it sounds like you're paying a lot in interest. So check the interest, because otherwise, if it takes.
He said per pay period, so divide that by 2. Unless you did it, because he said $25 per pay period.
So I just took the full. It's per period, so if it's times 2.
So that'll still be 80 months. That's what that brings it down, because 5 years is 60, 75.
So it's 6 years. Yeah, so I would check the rate on that, because that's something that doesn't seem right. If the rate's high, then you might as well pay it off. Otherwise, you're going to be paying back a lot more, right? Yeah, so you just have to figure that out. Okay. But it won't affect you too much on purchasing power. $50 a month is not going to affect you.
Okay. All right, let's get through these. We got a few minutes left. Can migraines, tension, headaches, foot pain related to pes planus, insomnia, and neck pain be associated with a PACT Act? Okay, people, you heard me talk about investing your time. I have videos out there about the PACT Act. A presumptive condition, you're going to need 3 elements. A diagnosis that's on that list. You have to have served in a particular location in a particular time frame, except the 1, 3, and 7 year. So look at my video that I did on the PACT Act. Okay. Can they be associated? Yes. But there are some conditions that are on that list, which means if you got a current diagnosis, you meet the location and the time frame, that's it. That's service connection. And if the VA doesn't give it to you, then it's wrong. It's an error. Okay. The pressure is on them, though, because BVA is being sued right now by CCK law firm. How long is that suit is going to take place? What, maybe 10, 12 years? I wouldn't wait around and hold my breath for that. Okay. Again, I think we've had one client in 5 years that went to BVA, but they got the 100% before they went to BVA. 1 in 5 years. You have to know this process before you even file that first claim or new claim. Because if you're waiting 5 or 6 years to get for a judge to look at something and it's still a denial, you just wasted all that time. Had a CMP examiner opine nothing in the claims file about the illness. They're in the C file. I have copies. Should I wait for the VA decision? Send to VA now before decision. You could try, but it may not get there in time. But again, if when you say claims file, are you talking about service? How are you claiming it under the 5 ways of service connection? Is it in your, if you're claiming on a direct service connection, is it in your service treatment records from active duty? Okay. So like we were saying earlier, to give a decision, I need more information. If I'm 100% permanent total, still have 1 remaining high level review. duty to assist for paying with VA rep review entire claims just for paying high level review claim. So when you say VA rep, are you talking about Veteran Service Organization rep? Are you talking about the decision review officer that handles the high level review, the appeal? And I can't say if they're going to look at your entire claim. You talk about 1,000 adjudicators. Okay. I don't know all of them and I don't know what each one should do. But in one of my videos, when I talk about high level review, they're supposed to do a cursory review. But when veterans tell me, hey, I had a high level review, I asked some questions. They did not ask this one simple question. Did you do a cursory review per M21 dash dot 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 dot? They just let the DRO tell them, oh no, I didn't want to tank the process. I want you to tell me my story. When I did a hearing, I made sure I was familiar with that, the veteran's claim, because I didn't want to go in there and look like an idiot and not look at any information. And I think it's when you do that, you're doing a disservice to the vet. Okay, that's me giving out Dave's contact information.
Yeah, I think you can also go to vahousingeducation.com and go right from there.
I need an investment property within a year.
You need one.
So what's the holdup?
Yeah, we all need one.
Yeah. What's Dave's YouTube channel?
Yeah, I think I dropped it in there, VA Housing Education. So yeah, you guys can check some out.
There's it right there.
So VA suitable applicant must, you have to be qualified still to assume a loan, right? Like you still have to make money, but the nice thing is that rates are lower, so you qualify for a lot less. And for the VA, it could be a primary residence. If you're doing a substitution of entitlement, meaning we're going to swap benefits. But if you want to lock someone's benefits in, you could buy as an investment property, second home. It doesn't make a difference.
Just went to Dave's website, VA Housing Education. Is pretty good learning. Good. Most definitely.
At least it wasn't negative. This is something more of like when people get pre-approved, if you go with like the bigger banks, they mess them up all the time. I get calls all the time from veterans like, I just got denied a week before closing. You got to know what you're looking at. You're never pre-approved for a purchase price. You're pre-approved for a max mortgage payment, because I can show you a $200,000 property and a $300,000 property, and a $300,000 property will have a smaller payment than a $200,000 property. It's all about taxes and insurance. You have to know where you're buying. This is why a good agent will help you.
Here's another one for you, Dave. You know the DOD SL50? It's I can't remember what we call them in the Army, but
someone's a government employee and they're going to be guaranteed a promotion.
You get the SL50 showing the promotion, like from GS11 to GS12 or GS12 to GS14.
If you're getting the letter, we know when you start, we can use the new income. I mean, it has to be reasonable. It can't be like a year out. But if it's like within a month, like, yeah, we can use it.
Okay. I normally get my SL50 until after, got my GS level increase. They give it like the day of or the day after. So Dino girl, this is I was telling her about the second property.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right, Fred. Thank you, James.
The next one's a bit tough to answer. Yeah, it's just if you don't use any of your credit and you pay off all your debt if you don't use any credit and pay off all your debt within a year, I would need to know the total income, Grace, to know what that is. One fun fact is if you are so good at your credit that you stop using your credit because you paid everything off and you haven't used your credit cards for 6 months, you will have a 0 credit score. And if you have a 0 credit score, guess what? Your interest rate will be based on a 660 credit score on average. So you're going to be penalized for having perfect credit ish because you don't. There's no track record anymore of you making payments on time. Does that make sense? So it makes sense why you lose credit because now they are thinking like, oh, I don't know. It's so just FYI.
Yeah. You know, one of my credit cards, I use like a debit card. Every Friday, I pay it off. What I don't carry it over.
Yeah,
But there's one credit card I stopped using. But what I did was I purchased some monthly. It's like $10,
yeah.
and it gets charged every month. Just that $10, and I pay it off. Now they're not going to increase my credit limit.
No,
I know
but
they're not
you
going to
get
do
the
that, but
credit.
right, exactly.
Yeah,
It shows
yeah.
that I'm
And I'm
paying on
like you.
time.
Yeah, I use my credit card like a debit card because I get the points
Yeah.
and it just shows that I'm using. So it's just and you get much better. This isn't like a credit card commercial, but you get better protection from your credit card. And on top of that, some credit cards give you like a 2-year warranty on something that you buy. So it goes past the manufacturers at no additional cost. So just things to think about when you're buying stuff.
Oh yeah.
No time limit.
Okay.
It's
That was quick. That was quick.
Yeah, there's no time limit. Most people tell you it's a year, but there isn't one per the VA. That's an FHA rule. People confuse it all the time. You can 2 days later you can buy another place if it makes sense.
Right.
But that's what the key is if it makes sense.
Yeah. So it's a good thing my car is paid off. Let's just say you don't, Dave. If you come across a client, the car is paid off and they don't have any credit cards.
Mhm.
Okay. And they're at that boat where it's like 0%, no, zero. The credit score is zero because they're not paying anything. Would it make sense to go take out a small loan? When I say small, I'm talking the minimum. If go to the bank and say, I want to refinance my car for the basic minimum based on the year and model. Say it's 2000.
Gotcha.
Have you seen clients in that situation before where they didn't have credit cards and they were trying to get their credit score up? And you're trying to, I know you said earlier you work with people
Yeah.
to come up with ways to increase it. Have you ever ran into that before?
Yeah, so if your credit card is still open but you haven't used it, we just tell them go ahead and put a $50 on there and wait a payment, and then you see their credit score jump up to 780.
Wow.
So I would because credit is also based on credit mix. So think about it this way: if you take out a new loan, now there is no payment history on that new loan. You just started it, so your credit score is going to jump up 100 points. But you have a credit card that has a $5,000 limit and you've had it for 5 years, but you haven't used it. That's still 5 years of on-time payment history. Now you charge $50. Now they're saying, well, look how amazing this person is. 5 years worth of credit, and they're still paying all their bills on time and they're managing their debt very well. Versus, oh, we got a new loan and now we don't have a track record, so it's not going to increase your credit score as it would if you were using an existing debt. But if you don't have debt and you paid off everything and you closed everything out, you're literally starting from the bottom. You're starting from the bottom. You're gonna have to get a credit card, 2 to 3 credit cards, get an installment loan, and that's what you need for your credit mix. And then you have to give it time, which is at least 6 months. Not to be negative, I just want to deliver the truth.
Yeah, there you go. What is the best place to get a VA home loan? They had to ask that question. Call Dave. Call Dave. And I think sometimes people are afraid of the truth or just nervous
Yeah.
of the truth. But I heard you say in some of my other events that when you were talking about you've gotten veterans that just were getting VA compensation
Yeah, you can
home
buy a house
loans.
with just that. We do that all the time. Just VA disability. That's all, and you can qualify. You can use Social Security income, VA disability day one. You don't have to wait for it. So there's definitely a lot of cool things you can do. So
I'm not on this. Do you understand? I'm not understanding his question. Is there anything you can do about it? I'm not worried about it.
I'm not sure. I think we
Okay.
schedule an appointment and we can help out.
Yeah. We're just trying to get through some more questions here. Oh yeah, that packed act for my burn pit exposure. You know, one thing that I saw all the time, I see veterans claim, I'm claiming go for diagnosis. Guess what? That's not a claim. Or they'll put on the paperwork, I'm claiming burn pit exposure. I even did a claim one time, and the veteran told me, "You look through the paperwork and tell me what I can claim and file a claim." And I was reading it. I was like, "Nope, got to go back to the end of the line." So you got to be careful when we throw these words around: Gulf War, a burn pit exposure, PACT Act. We got to dive in and know exactly. Not saying Derwin is you, but we got to understand this process. Okay, just like when Dave was talking about VA home loans, you got to understand this process. No other way around it.
Yeah, and one other question, I'll kind of bounce to the bottom on the question quickly. There is no fee to set up a consultation. There's not, like, you don't get charged anything. Like, the information we give you is free. We just ask that if you're looking to be a homeowner, to work with us and be able to help.
Okay. I want to do one more
Yeah.
home loan because I know we're over the hour. Yes, it's SDRs from active duty CMP exam. Didn't see it, but I got copies for the SDR to prove it. Okay. So I would say, you can wait on the decision because the rater should catch it. But I can tell you now, what I've been seeing with a lot of these new raters, they're just denying it. And they'll say, and management will say, oh, just deny it and let the vet appeal it. But then do you know what you're appealing? Yeah, you do. Hey, I got denied because the examiner said it wasn't in my claims file, my service treatment records from active duty. Here it is. Send an addendum back. You got to be clear. Okay. Okay, I'll let you take that one, Dave.
Yeah. Servicing your mortgage can be switched servicing as many times as the servicers want. All mortgages are sold in the secondary market, but a lot of people, even if you go to Bank of America or USA, they think they use US Bank, ironically, but those servicing rates can change, so that is legit.
Okay, so I think somebody said how to get a question on here, but they typed the question on here.
There's a good one here. Can you get 100% P&T property tax exemption with a general under honorable conditions? Yeah, I don't.
It doesn't matter. The VA gives. Go ahead.
Yeah, if you have the rating, you have the rating, right? If you have 100% P&T, like that's all that they're asking for.
Yeah,
unless the state would have that, but
yeah, I haven't heard it. Yeah, I haven't heard that they here in Florida they just want that paperwork saying that you are tax exempt, 100% permanent owner, you tax exempt. I've even seen some reps here in the state of Florida, they don't even inquire about the 100% P&T. Do you have the tax exemption letter? That's all because they're not familiar with 100% P&T. Do you have the tax exemption letter from the VA? Because you get the tax exemption letter and then the commissary letter. Okay. All right. So, Dave, I know you say you had to go. I do apologize for keeping you 13 minutes over. But again, make sure you go and check out Dave's YouTube channel, VA Education Housing. Also, someone said they went to his website. We put a link where you can schedule a consultation with Dave to go over your particular needs of what you're trying to do with your VA home loan. But use it. It's there. Use it. So, Dave, I'll give you the last word before we wrap up.
Like you mentioned earlier, if you're thinking about it, don't get scared to look at your financial picture. We'll walk you through that process so at least you're prepared and take ownership of the VA home loan. If you served in the military, there's a lot of times that you do things that you don't want to do. This is one of those things, like, take control of what your finances, your future. Again, we don't bite. We'll walk you through that process, and then you're going to be free to do what you want. Trust me, there's no used car sales badgerman badging going on. It's just let's educate you guys and then be able to set you free to do what you want to do.
Right.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. One last thing, Dave. Facebook user, go to my website, sign up for the BDD training. I think I got one this week or next week. When you get to the website, I got 3 dates for you this month. Sign up, and I'm going to walk you through the BDD claims process because guess what? I used to rate BDD claims. So I'm giving you exactly what I would look for. Talk about the process and what to look for. And if he's out of that 90, 190 and 180 day window, not a problem. Don't worry about it. It's still some things he could be doing while he's on active duty. Okay. So thanks, everyone. Take care. And make sure you go follow Dave on his YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, so you can get updates on when we go live again. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.